Hi, Casey. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. So good. How are you?
I am so good. I'm so glad that you are a part of this new segment on the podcast, the Wayfinders. You have been such a big part of my life. I've known you since the beginning of this year. We took a breathwork class with Erica Hall, which is hard to believe that was like 6 months ago. And that was just such a magical thing to do together. We already had Erica on the podcast to talk about the work she does. So we found each other there. And now you have so many things going on. You have a therapy private practice, you have another business intentionally where you incorporate your own breath work since you're a facilitator now, and you are a Reiki instructor, all the things, which we'll get into. But you've helped me so much in the breath work that I've done with you, and you're a good friend now that we've gotten to know each other. And so it made so much sense to have you in the segment of the Wayfinders.
It is so wild. I feel like this year is like such a true fire year. It has moved so quickly. I cannot believe, we did the inner knowing course with Erica this winter, which was so
Yeah.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
then from that, like you said, so then I got trained to actually be able to facilitate breath work. And I do a new moon class at Erica's studio, which is so much fun. And I'm so glad that you come and that you have great experiences that you have. So it is a joy.
Yes, no, it is awesome. So we have some questions we'll get through in this interview that just kind of talk about your journey and what makes you sort of a wayfinder. But I think to start out, if you can introduce yourself, your main business, your
Yeah.
side hustle, all the things that you're doing so that the people get to know you.
Yeah, totally. So I feel very much for anyone who does Enneagram, I feel like I'm a very true Enneagram 3. So I love work. I like to achieve things really just for my own edification because I'm curious about so many things. So yeah, I am a therapist. I have been practicing for about 12 years, which is wild. My specialty is working with any form of trauma and impactful experiences. So I practice EMDR and I'm an EMDR-approved consultant, which means I can help people who are learning EMDR, which is fabulous. And I feel like I've sort of always been a bit of a wayfinder. I've always been really curious and I've wanted to do more things than I have time for. So I try to figure out what can I what can I not do later. So I went to Peace Corps when I was in my early mid-20s and that was
Wow.
fun and lots of travel around. Got grounded in becoming a therapist. And now, as you mentioned with Intentionally, which is a business that I just opened earlier this year so I can do more spiritual fun things like breath work.
Mm.
And I'm all to be able to facilitate Reiki energy as well. And then I'm exploring doing more intentional dream work with people. A friend of mine
Ooh.
is called therapist and is trained in Jungian work. So a lot of subconscious, a lot of symbolism, archetypes. And so we're in talks right now to try to create a dream circle so people can come have their dreams analyzed and processed.
That I have always had very vivid dreams. And one of the other girls I'm going to have on here is Zarina. She's my psychotherapist and friend, but she's always like asked me, "So, how were your dreams?" And I'm like, insane. And I feel like I need a dream journal next to my bed because I've always had
Yes,
crazy dreams. They're always very specific and they obviously mean something. So you can count me in for this
completely.
little dream circle because I need all of the analysis of what the hell is going on while I'm sleeping.
What is this?
Yes.
My gosh. And there's so much. It is so rich. Yeah, I've been doing dream journaling for maybe like 4 or 5 years now, and I feel
Whoa,
like my dreams have like saved. I know. Yeah.
really?
So people who don't dream, who don't remember their dreams, can they also participate? Is there some maybe secret sauce in there for them?
Completely. A big part of it is really just starting to tune in. When I first started to dream journal in the beginning, I think maybe I remembered like a dream a month. And so when I have clients who say, kind of just as you were saying, Kara, like, well, I don't have dreams, or, it's generally that they don't remember them. And it's like a
Mm,
muscle, like anything else. So I think once
yeah.
people start to record what they do remember, then they tend to become a little bit more fluid because then we're
Mm.
putting attention there. And as they say, like, where attention goes, energy flows. So it becomes easier to remember. And sometimes like the key pieces will stand out. So just practice.
Okay, yeah, that is true. Just like working a muscle. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
are you journaling? Because sometimes I'll still wake up in the middle of the night, and most of the time it's like one of my children is like, "Mommy." And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, come on, and then like last night, it was me and the two kids. Like Simran, like, this is like another bed in our study. This is where Simran sleeps. This is where he's pretty much slept for 2 years. Cause Sophia, whatever, it's fine. It's when the
Yeah.
kids take over, yeah, when your toddlers rule your life. And it's fine. I cherish it. I love these moments. It's fine. Like we're all fine with it.
Yes.
But sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I like had some crazy dreams right before that. And I'm like, do I journal? But then I'm like, will I ever go back to sleep again? Because that's the other problem is, so are you doing this like the moment you wake up? Do you get coffee first so you're a little more like when are you doing this?
So I grab my phone, that's where my dream journal is, and I do like voice to text so that everything is in there because especially in the beginning, I was afraid I would forget.
Okay.
So yeah, I voice to text a lot.
That's really smart.
Okay. I
Yeah,
do
because
too.
people lose it. You can lose it really quickly if you don't record it or write it down, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a piece too, is just to write down whatever someone remembers. So if it's just like a little snippet of something like, the other week I had some dream that I was shopping for dresses at Macy's. Okay, great. I don't know what that's about, but I recorded that snippet. So it just could be a little bit. It could be, and also just to track your feelings, like how did you feel in this dream or what happened? Like
Yeah.
it evolves. To make
Sure.
it easy, I think Rachel, as you're saying, especially having young kids, it's making it easy for how it works for you. I think there are also dream journal apps that are pretty good too that kind of help guide through that as well if people want a little bit more direction.
That's good. Yeah, because then maybe getting some prompts could help trigger like, I
Yes.
did have that weird thing did
Like much
happen,
that I remember.
like
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've
And I think your feelings too are so important. How you're feeling in that moment and what that's triggering. Does that remind you of something happening in real life? Because it can be connected, but it might not be also.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. My friend who does the Jungian work talks a lot about, how we're all connected to the collective unconscious. So it could be about us, but it could also just be something going on in the world. So I think
so
that's where I'm really fascinated. My career since I've become a therapist is really focusing on the unconscious of like, what do we not have immediate access to, right? Or that isn't conscious because we can have access to the unconscious, but it's not as present.
mhm,
EMDR work also gets to like where things are stored. I'm adding more somatic movement and like breath work. We
mm,
can't see necessarily what is stuck in our systems, but then we see through breath work. I didn't realize I couldn't take that full breath, or it was hard to
yeah,
exhale fully. So being able to really go like under the hood or like into the settings panel, like that's really where I feel like my work is now. And a lot of
yeah.
what I'm hoping to do more and more with intentionally is to help people connect to the unconscious and subconscious because there's so much there.
Right. And if we're working so much from our mind and analytically and logically in the way that we think, I mean, we can overanalyze everything and understand that. But if you're not feeling it and integrating it and allowing that to move through you, it's just going to remain stuck and you're going to wonder why, even though you can explain it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's so true. I think a lot in analogies. And so often with clients, I'll say, the conscious thinking part is important. Like if someone, let's say, gets stung by a bee, so they realize, oh, okay, this is why my skin is red or I feel hot or XYZ.
Mhm,
But to know it is the first step, we have to actually do something about it. Like you have to take the stinger out, you have to get the ointment or the
mhm,
ice, like help that heal. And I feel like that's embodiment. Like we can know what an issue is, like maybe someone has
mm.
anxiety, knowing is the first step. And then we have to kind of move forward with it, hopefully.
I think a lot of people get stuck in that transition. They think if I just learn about it, if I just know, but then
Yeah.
we need to, it sounds like you help them
Oh,
get over that bridge and help,
yeah.
get over
Yeah.
that path.
And that's what I love. And I think that's where I think about it now as almost like invisible resistance. When people say like, oh, I just can't, or like, how does anyone have energy for that? Or XYZ. And I think a lot of it is like going to what we can't see. That's where I have found a lot of just personal growth with energy work that I've done the last few years, Reiki energy work.
Mhm.
And then also breath work is that it clears. I remember Erica would say, like build capacity, you're building capacity. And I think in the
Yeah,
beginning, I didn't fully embody that or understand that. And then I realized once I could breathe more fully and I didn't need my asthma inhaler anymore. It's amazing to think these things that we think we just have, we
yeah.
don't have to have. There's so much healing available. So that's the direction I'm heading in now is also broader healing outside of, like, traditional therapy is also lovely, and there's so many other ways to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the
Yeah, I think we need
subconscious
all
work.
these different methods to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the subconscious work has been the game changer for me. When I started therapy, I did just do traditional therapy, and that was huge because I was doing that pretty much, right after Luca, my second, was born, and I had 2 under 2, and it was just I had postpartum anxiety that I didn't know about, that I ultimately thankfully got medicine for, that has been a absolute game changer. I'm finally 2 years postpartum, and I'm going back for a revow to, try to cut back if I can and should. But that was such a hard time, and I just needed to talk to somebody about, like, what is going on. It was the first time I'd ever done, traditional talk therapy, and it was a huge thing. But then once I kinda got through that, it was really like, why do things just keep coming up? Like, what is the deeper, and of course we talked about that a little bit in the traditional talk therapy, but it's really been the subconscious work, the hypnotherapy, the breath work,
Yeah.
the tapping into your higher self, just talking to your guides, to trusting yourself, and then again, getting in a space where you can go deeper has been
Yeah. Huh.
transformative and incredible.
Isn't that so amazing? It's like digging all the way deep. Like, as you were saying that, like the image that came to my mind is like if we're sort of on this, earth plane and this is what we see, but it's like digging deep underground, like doing that, like subconscious work, but also reaching up, that like connection up, like greater meaning, greater purpose. Why is that pattern repeating? Like, why am I meeting the same person? Like what
Yeah.
is actually going on?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what, what I think is so beautiful about it is it just makes you realize too that we are souls living a human experience. Like, when
So much.
you recognize that we are so much greater than this
Yeah.
physical form that we're embodying and experiencing in this lifetime, like, well, first of all, it's exciting because it's like, ooh, I wonder where I'm going to end up next, like in another lifetime. This isn't the end. Like, we have
Yes.
something to do and learn
Yeah.
here. But it is just such a gift to have these practices that allow us to access the, like, who we truly are, our soul,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what our soul has been through in all of these different lifetimes, or in this lifetime if it's the first one, and what,
Yes.
really tap into what we're here to do and how can we fix it and how can we be the best versions of ourselves when we take away the exterior, the current, and go into, like, okay, well, what's my
Yeah.
identity as it's been
Yeah.
since I arrived here?
My gosh. Yes. I love that. And it's like, yeah, it just makes me feel like glowing talking about that because it is so real and there's such depth to it. And yeah, I laugh too because I have just come out of my karmic era that lasted
Mm.
from like my late 20s to maybe circa early 40. Now, as I'm in my early, and yeah, my soul brought some stuff into this life that I had to clean up.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm here this round to do a lot of alchemizing work. Like
Mm.
unfortunately, earlier in my life and when I was in Peace Corps, I was assaulted. And then I spent my career working with
Yeah.
survivors on the other side as a therapist and doing
Yeah.
breathwork and Reiki, like to really help people heal. So it feels like this very duality experience of the
Yeah.
shadow of the harm, but also then trying to help people heal that and overcome and clear past karma and clear wounds that they have because I think the more people heal the less we hurt each other, and so that's sort of my hopeful goal and kind of mission now is to help people alchemize their own pain and their own wounds. We don't have to live like that, and so many people do. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
appreciate about what you do is it's really bringing it to the light, and
Yeah.
connecting around really
Right.
powerful.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
most people are only using a small percentage of our brain. So what we're doing isn't working, right? Traditionally, it's just not working enough. We need to access those other parts. And things like what you're doing is help to bring that to the forefront.
I love that. And even I've been trying to get more involved the last few years too with understanding the chakra system as I've been doing energy work.
Mm.
And it's amazing to pull in as a counselor because depending on what someone is coming in with, if it's digestive issues or breathing issues, maybe it's asthma, maybe it's migraines, like that connects to different energy centers. And that can really help us heal and help us process versus, I think, old
Yeah.
traditional type therapy, which was just maybe CBT or talk therapy, help someone maybe reframe an issue,
Mm,
and you can't really reframe a migraine. You have to work with it. You have to
I
understand what
wish.
caused it to be there. I know. If we
My
could all just
mom It's so
rethink a
funny you bring up
migraine.
migraines because my mom is, like, of that mindset. Like, I literally had in college, my migraines were so bad that I actually was on preventative medicine for it for, like, my entire college experience. Now, thankfully, they're few and far between, but
Good.
my mom was always like, "It's mind over matter, Rachel. It's mind over matter." Like, she'd always say
Yeah.
that to me. I'm like, "I wish it was mind over matter." She'd be like,
It's a migraine.
just lady, I have blurriness in my eye right now. I wish I could just be like, okay, bye
Oh,
bye. Next thing you know, I'm gonna be like in the bathroom, you know? Like, but yeah, that concept of it's not as simple as that. It's so much deeper than that. Like, what is really going on and why you're getting migraines? Are you stressed? Yeah, maybe.
right. Yeah. Are you stressed, disconnected? Is it old material? Are you holding someone
Right.
else's energy? I mean, that's something
Exactly.
that's been so powerful. Yeah, to even just learn personally being a capital E empath in that I absorb energy without trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I first started energy work with someone we both know, Jen Castillo Stats, she was like, "You're carrying way too much of other people's energy. We got to get this off of you." I had no idea, no idea. So it's been such a powerful personal journey that I think helps support when I work with people because I've walked a lot of the walks now, like been down some paths.
Yeah, that was one of the questions was, every wayfinder has a story. And one of the questions I had was, what experiences led you to the work that you have? Was there a season in your life where you sort of felt lost in the woods? And it sounds like based on, the different things that you've been through in your life that, it's given you this passion to give back. And I think it's really beautiful, like what you'd been through early on in your life, what you've done with it, because for good, there's a lot of people that just don't have the current capacity. They don't have the education. They don't have the tools, the resources to be able to flip it around and get through this extremely difficult time and then use it in a way that is out of the shadows and into the light. So I think it's just
Yeah.
amazing the courage that you had and have to go from what you went through to have the passions that you do and then to just be giving back in the way that you do. It's like, well, it just highlights what a wonderful person you are. But also, I guess my question is, would you say that but for these experiences, or how much of those experiences really led you to what you are doing? And if there was a very different path, do you think that you would still be here, or had these experiences really and feeling lost at different points, you like needed these different things and you're like, I need this and I also want to give it back? Because that's how I've always felt about what I do is when I learned it, I immediately was like, I need to share this with the world. This isn't just for me. But a lot of people don't think that way and they want to just hold it for themselves, and that's fine. But I'm just curious, like your
Yeah.
mindset and your experience.
Yeah, and I think they say, like, as you say that, they say that's usually the mark of a healer is someone who wants to be able to share that with people.
For
So
sure.
that says a lot, Rachel. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think as you say that, I it has felt like something I wanted to do, but also didn't feel like a choice. It just felt like an imperative. Like, of course I'm
Mm,
going to do this, right? I don't know if you ascribe to the thought of like the futures we're meant to find in terms of like our soul has this path. So we
mm,
have these points that we'll find one way or another, right?
mhm.
So when I was younger in high school, I thought I really loved the show Frasier. And I thought, oh, I want to do that. Like, I want to be what he does, like, therapist essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
And as
yeah.
I was telling them about that, they were like, oh, well, that's a psychiatrist. You have to go to medical school. And I was like, oof, medical school. I don't work on that side of the brain as well. So I kind of put it off. I got my undergraduate degree in public relations. And then after I was assaulted in Peace Corps and I found EMDR personally to work through that, and
Yeah,
I returned to it. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. And so I went to graduate school and I got trained in EMDR while I was still in school, which may be a good idea or not. But EMDR and trauma work became like a first language of therapy. It just felt
yeah.
so natural that I needed to help other people heal, which I love, but also didn't feel like a choice. It was just like, yes, of course, like
It was
this
your
is what I'm going to
calling.
do.
Your calling.
Yeah, yes,
What
and
you're meant
now
to
that I
do.
know
Your
more,
purpose.
and I think we've talked a bit about and we've talked about Vedic astrology, and when I did my
Mm,
Vedic astrology at Flourish recently, it all came together like, "Oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing." So, yeah, it was very validating in that way because it has just felt like this is what I want to do and need to do.
yeah, 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 yeah. For
Yeah.
anyone that has not done Vedic astrology, so there's two different astrology systems. There's Western, which we all are familiar with. It's our zodiacs, as you understand it. And then there's this sidereal Vedic, which is the Indian, the Eastern side of the world's view of astrology and understanding it. And a lot because it's, Indian, it's based in karma and past lives. So it feels very historical and deeper to me, whereas Western feels more like it's your personality, how you're showing up in this lifetime. It's more like now. And the Vedic astrology reading that, you experience, I experience, and we're going to have the Flourish girlies on here,
Oh,
Julia,
yay.
who
So
does the Vedic astrology. They're going to be on here to talk about all that. But
good.
to me, like that reading, because it's about karma, past lives, it really shows your astrology and what your purpose is in this lifetime, what you're meant to do, and what you're bringing forward from past lives. So it like to your point, getting that reading was so incredibly validating because it was like, yes, like I'm getting these calling, I feel like I have this calling. I'm getting all these downloads. This same thing keeps coming up. I'm feeling this pull for this thing. Like, why? And it's like, because la da 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 da. Like, this is who you are. This is always like, do you want to talk about healer? I've been a healer or a warrior in every lifetime. Like, I've been one of each. In this lifetime, I'm stepping more into the healer and less of the warrior. So, like, but it's just fascinating when you learn that stuff. And yeah, just to get the validation that you need to be able to,
Yeah.
move forward.
Yes, that's so true. I love that so much. And that I think that's such an important part of healing is to also really know ourselves and know our journey.
Yeah,
Like find out that
absolutely.
information.
Yes.
What is your astrology saying, in both systems? I thought it was so powerful and it's a different way to look at it in Vedic. And I love how Julia does it is that she says you put, this planet in this house, right? That there's this
Mm,
soul choice. So I think the really key takeaways I had from Vedic is that I put my sun, sun, like the sun, in the house of myself. And so she said, you can't hide from yourself in this life, which
Yeah.
feels very true. One of the other pieces, I suppose, of my wayfinding journey is that I'm bi and I grew up in a generation where like we didn't see representation and people didn't think the thing. So I got married to my former husband. I let him know before we got married. And then after about 10 years of marriage, I was like, I really need to come out. Like, I just feel like I have to. And now knowing, like, oh, I set up this life that I can't hide from myself. So, like, I needed to be able to come out, which is a hard process, and not everyone can. Well, yeah, it's a tough process.
yeah.
But feeling that and being able to go through that process just gives me so much empathy too for whatever someone kind of hide in the shadows. And that tricky. So I feel like this has been a life where I've had a lot of empathizing experiences that help
Yeah.
me relate and with people too, which is just a cool gift. Like that's where I feel now is just like, what cool gift is next? Like, what cool adventure is ahead of me? What opportunity? Bring it on, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I've loved about this spiritual space and everybody in it because, first of all, we're all healers. We're all interested in helping others and making this world a better place. We're all trying to be the best versions of ourselves, which who doesn't want to hang out with people that are trying to be like good people?
Yeah.
And just
Right.
like all the different tools and the ways that we help each other. And I mean, I just think about the last like 6 months, like 6 months to a year of all the people I've met. And like this time last year, wildly different place. Wildly different. I mean, my Divine Feminine Collective didn't even exist. I had the podcast. I think I took off this summer from like recording after like going crazy in the spring. and I was just trying to enjoy the summer. Luca was like almost a year. I mean, and then now I'm like, oh my God, the journey that I've had and the women that I've met that have just absolutely transformed my life and just continue to make me a better person. Like every day I wake up and I'm just so grateful to have this just incredible tribe of some of
Yes.
the best women and individuals I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, God, what a gift this community is, and how close we are, and how we constantly keep running into each other because we're all just like,
Yes.
keep supporting each other. We like keep showing up for
Yes.
each other's things. And it's just, it's amazing. I love it.
I love that. And it's so true. And it's so funny, I think, as you say that, because I think like anyone, we're always looking for belonging and this sense of like, where's my tribe? Who are my people? And it's funny, like I didn't feel that in Catholic school growing up. I didn't necessarily feel that in college. I didn't necessarily feel it in Peace Corps or even when I came out.
Yeah.
And then where I felt like it clicked is in this spiritual community that it's like, oh, this is it. These are my people. We can talk about growth. We can talk about healing. We can talk about souls. Like, and they don't
Yes.
think it's crazy.
Right.
They recognize the truth. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, we are the Divine Feminine Collective, we're on the rise, and that's one of the interesting things that has really come up is like that idea of, the rise of the divine feminine and what that means, and, really owning our femininity and what that means and how that's different from the very masculine driven world that we live in, that we were raised in, and feel like we're really taking our power back and
Yes.
starting a revolution of sorts of like, hey, like we don't operate that way. And, we are going to do it differently, and we're going to be wildly
Yeah.
successful, and we're going to be connected, and we're going to support each other in a way that humanity has not for so long.
Yeah, completely. And I think this is so funny. And I guess as we talk about even like past lives too, I was told by a psychic that I've lived a lot of my past lives as men. So it makes sense in this life. I've had a lot of close male friends. I have a brother. I
Yeah.
have all boy cousins. And I also feel like the rise of the feminine is a balancing, as that it's also for men to be able to
Oh,
access because
100%.
we both have the masculine, feminine, kind of like you're saying, like you have the warrior and the healer spirit, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's this balance. And I'm hopeful it's also for men to be able to have the feminine,
Oh,
like
yeah.
process or feel the emotions or take a rest, take a beat. Don't beat up your body. Don't ignore that chest pain. Don't ignore the back pain, right?
Yeah.
Versus, I think sometimes, in this ever dualistic world, there's that sense of like competition that it's like men versus women, or it's that
Yeah.
party versus this party, that coast versus this coast. And it's like,
Yeah.
but they're both, it's both. I think
Right.
that's my life, right? Like being a Xennial on the edge of generational gaps, being bi, being Libra, like all of the things in my life are both
Yeah.
and. I
Yeah.
think this rise of the feminine is the same. It's for women to be hard and more visible. And it's
Yeah.
also for men to be
Yeah.
able to soften and not have
Yeah.
to harden so much that it hurts their lives and relationships.
Yeah. I see that with, Luca, who's 2 now, and he's our little Cancer. So he is just, I say all the time, he's my heart. In numerology, he was born on the 6th, and 6 is the nurture. And he has a lot of that energy about him. Like, just, he was born on a Friday, which is ruled by Venus. I mean, he's just like total love.
I
And,
love that.
if you're like, "Oh, give me a kiss," like, he will run to you because he feels bad that he's not giving whatever. And so, having a son, like, just trying to raise him to be everything that he is and the sweet angel that he is, and, fostering that sweetness. But, it's when you brought up the men, really honoring the feminine that they have inside of them. I did an event a week or so ago, and I was doing numerology readings, and most of the people that came up to my table were women. And the husband of one of the women that came up to me, we just started chatting, and I did his life path number, and he is a 6, the nurturer. And
Like
his
little Luca.
wife, like Luca, his wife also is a 6. And I was talking to him about, on the back, I give little business cards that on the back say, what's your manifestation block based on your life path number? And because life path sixes are the nurturers. They give, 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 give until their cup is empty. And their challenge is to give themselves the care that they need, to put themselves first before their cup, becomes depleted, and then they're, in a bad place. And so I was reading that to him, and it was so interesting to me how different of a reaction he had than when I read it to his wife. Because as women, like, we get that, right? Like, immediately, we're the
Yeah.
nurturers. Like, it's who we are.
Yeah.
And men are just been trained to just not live the same experience. And so I'm reading this to him of like, you need to give back. And he just was like, it's almost like he didn't get it. Like, he's like, because he gives, men, they give in different ways. And I was like, it really just, like, to your point of, if it is so important to like help men as much as it is women to step into our power, of like, men really need, like, it really hurt me in that moment of, oh my God, like, he's not seeing himself, like, what a gift and what, like, a kind person that he is, and like all he does, and like to really honor that, because he's just like so much in the doing and not in the feeling. It was so interesting. It had never happened to me until that.
Wow. That is so interesting. And I feel like it ties so much to what any of us are socialized with, right?
Yeah.
That being told, oh, there's this nurturing aspect that's a very core part of your life, felt almost like something he needed to reject. And I think that's part of that unconscious, subconscious part that we were talking about earlier, is digging deep, digging under the layers, understanding that nurturing isn't bad, and understanding, maybe for some women, if it's unbalanced, right? Maybe it's more action. Who knows? I think it's just individual, and each of us understanding like that, the life path, understanding our astrology, understanding our birth order, understanding our geography, culture, so many elements to this. And I think that's really where my passions are now, is trying to help people discover what that is. And sometimes there is a little friction, it sounds like with that guy. And sometimes we need that to be able to process through it.
Well, you never know. I mean, what you say and how I don't know what's going to become of it, but it was just a very interesting moment where I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this really highlights the difference here.
Yes. And this is so funny. Yes. Because as you say that, because you've planted a seed, a very important seed, it sounds like, for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because what came to my mind is, years ago, when I was still in college working on a degree in public relations, I did a Celtic event in Cincinnati, and I had a palm reader read my hand. And she looked at my hand and these particular dashes, and she asked what I did. And I said I was finishing a degree in public relations. And she laughed. She was like, no, she's like, that's not for you. And I was so surprised. Yeah. And she was like, see all these lines? She said, that means you're a healer. You're going to do healing work. And I was like, well, la-di-da. I was 22.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
okay. And then clearly, several years later, I was assaulted and ended up becoming a therapist after that. And then this is my work. So, and I come back to that, like, gosh, if I had listened then. So,
I know.
who knows? For him or other people.
Yeah, no, I think about that with like numerology. I think someone asked me recently, they're like, if you were doing these for 18-year-olds, Rachel, like if you went to high schools and like provided, young people with this information, like how would they go through college differently? And I'm like, I don't subscribe to having regrets, because
Yeah.
every moment is an experience, is a lesson, good or bad, that helps you grow into the person that you're meant to be. And I think about my very colorful, diverse background, being an estate planning attorney, being a wealth advisor for a huge corporation, and now, like, over here in the spiritual woo-woo, my own business owner,
Love
like,
it.
totally
Love it.
different. But it's like, but for those experiences, like, this business would be so different. And I'm so grateful to have all of the things that I have. And so if I would have been given this information at 18 years old, like, I mean, who knows? Like, right? We can't, we can't have an experiment of like, okay, and isolate these things. But it is an interesting thought of like, how do we incorporate more of the spiritual into high schools and stuff? Because it is so important, and so much of the trauma we go through is often early in our lives, you know, before the age of 30. And it's like, and it's in high school is such a hard time to go through because so much is changing as a human. And God, what if we had breath work then? What if we did have, you know, some of these more, you know, not religious, but like, and religion is fine, but more of these spiritual things to help us get through that's not
Yeah.
informed by men or informed by these books, but informed by like how we feel and who we are so that we can really make informed decisions, especially now that college is sometimes prohibitively expensive and we have to make choices when we've only been on this planet for 18 years. And like
Yeah.
you go into public relations and you're like, cool, cool, cool. I'm going to pivot. And I'm over here like lawyer, neurologist, you know, and my parents are
Yeah. All the
what the
pivots.
fuck? You know, like, good thing you paid off your student loan, you know, whatever. Like, or where you feel like you have to before you can really like pivot because you feel like still tied to this thing. It's just,
Yes, completely.
it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's so true, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I think that's great any way that younger kids, whether it's high school, even middle school, just to know more about themselves, because I think some people maybe still have their own traumas or issues to work through, maybe related to spirituality, but even if it's just, like, meaning making, like, life path, like, to know your numerology, to understand zodiac, to understand who you are at a core, if it's an Enneagram system, like, there are so many ways people can look at it, but I wholeheartedly agree. And I think even with public relations for me, now that I just did my Vedic astrology recently, what came up is that my soul purpose here was a combination, you know, with the planetary influence of communication and spirituality. So I also needed that degree,
Did.
right?
You did.
Because
It's all
that's
meant.
a
It all
part
is
of it.
gonna
It
happen.
all comes together.
It's
It's
all
like
gonna
a
come
beautiful
together
cocktail.
regardless, but I always say, like, you can either be a passive bystander or a conscious creator. It's your choice.
Ooh, I
And
love
you can
that.
just go through life like da 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 da, this happened, or you can be like very aware of who you are and what's to come or what themes and how you can best armor yourself or prepare yourself, or when it does come, even if you're not maybe fully aware that like you have tools to be able to get through it or whatever it is in a way that's not going to be so traumatizing or so devastating or so life altering than it possibly could be. So like it's what
Yeah.
I really subscribe to is this is my life and I'm going to maximize it. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm, you know, whenever that time is, like I want to be able to say I lived my life to the max and
Yeah.
I want to have a pretty badass obituary is what I want to have.
And you will
Yes, I
manifest
will.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, you will.
As a former estate planning attorney, I always love throwing in a bit of the like a bit of that. Like, yeah, you know, I read a lot of those in my practice. So I always think like some were more interesting than others. And I'm like, well, I want mine to be interesting. So let's make the
Here we
chapters
go.
interesting all the time.
I love it. I love it. And I think as you say it too, it all comes to that choice and that pivot and it's personal empowerment. I was at an event recently where someone was a woman, you know, middle-aged woman with children and a job and a husband and a house, all of that, was saying like she didn't have time for herself and just the pain in her face. And I thought, gosh, this is someone who feels really disempowered and is not working for herself. She's working for other people because ultimately, and maybe it's society. Like, well, society says my kids should be in 8 sports and do all of this. So I now am shifting from what society needs and wants from me to like what my soul needs and wants from me, right? That it's not about this like outward picture or the image. It's about like, yeah, my soul is here to work on spirituality and work on
Yeah.
alchemizing and healing. And so
Yeah.
that's the direction I'm going. And it feels more authentic and more aligned. There's something to it. I think especially now being in my early 40s, having all of it to come together feels just really beautiful. And then I get to
Yeah.
live the rest of my this is amazing.
Ugh, I know. Isn't it? That's what I was thinking the other day of now that I've been a full-time entrepreneur for a month now, not even a month. Or well, I guess almost a couple months now. But I'm like, what are the days? Every day is great. So
Building.
I'm just like, la, 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 it's summer. Like, who even knows what time it is? You know, it's just classic. But yeah, I think I
No
think about
corporate
that
client.
of
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think about that of like, God, what a gift to do what you love. It's so simple, but like to truly do what lights you up and where every day you get to work with who you want to work with, and you get to have the schedule that you want for the day. And it's just amazing. And so many people like don't do that for whatever reason. And I think that's you come in and where I come in and all of our friends that are in this space of like, it is a choice. Like you said, it is a choice. And you can either choose to settle and do what you feel like you need to do, or you can be like, you know what? No, I'm in charge and I'm going to unapologetically live this incredible life that I want to live. And I'm going to do what I really love to do. And when I do what I love to do and I live my purpose and my passion, I'm going to have all the abundance that I want. I'm going to be as successful as I want to be. And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that so much. And I think sometimes people can get so stuck with that invisible resistance, whether it's needing to work on their own energy or trying to do breath work to kind of shake things up in the system, whatever it is, who really feel like, well, I can change something, I can do something. And again, that's a lot of empowerment, solar plexus kind of work to really feel like make these small changes. Sometimes it's just small, even if someone might have to have a certain job for a while. Great. Maybe it's the relationship to it, or it's ways that you'll take care of yourself. And I think for women, a lot of it is making sure that we keep ourselves as part of the picture, part of the people who we care about. I can't tell you how many women I've worked through the years as a therapist who talk about like, well, I'm doing this for my family. It's for my family. And I'll ask like, are you at the table when you think about your family? And oftentimes it hasn't been. So yeah, to know that like there is another way to live, and it doesn't have to be hard, that it can be those small choices. I mean, and then they just keep growing. Right? I mean, even all of the work, even you say, right, that you had set up your podcast a while ago. You'd been building this, you'd been leaning into it. And then now the universe was like, launch, here we go.
That blue moon in Sagittarius said, get out, girl.
And it's now.
Yeah, it's like, it's now. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yes. And that you have the infrastructure set up. Like it's a process, And I think sometimes we can feel a little impatient. That's where I think breath work is so good to like help our systems really regulate and clear out some of the old stuff. So
regulating one's nervous system. Let's start there. Like you must start there. Just being able to like even physically you physically have to be in a space where you can even go beyond that to be able to accept anything else. When you're in like fight or flight, like you can't, everything is going to spiral.
Oh my gosh. Yes. You're so right. And I think that's what has been really amazing about finding breath work is to help my nervous system really regulate. And I realized too, I think since we last met, I tried something called emotion code and body code, which we can certainly talk about if you want to. And what was fascinating, they do muscle testing to see where there are trapped emotions in your body. And certainly I've done a lot of work. I'm a therapist, know different modalities. I use EMDR myself as well. And it was wild. They found some trapped emotions related to when I was assaulted like 16 years ago. And one of them was shock, which was stuck vagus nerve. I know. So it's released now, but the power of regulating your nervous system, tuning into your body, it is so critical.
Yeah. Do you think that's what people are kind of longing for? If people are feeling lost and like they want to find their way and they're interested in some of this work, they know something is wrong, they've tried all these different things, like, is it from your experience and, maybe why you started intentionally and these different things to be able to provide a holistic practice for people to be able to work through these different things? What are you kind of seeing are maybe some themes in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for people, it can start really small. I think we're also in an interesting place that they're actually really nice and factual, fairly flat factual Instagram social media accounts that give information about nervous system care, about trauma, those effects. That's what's been fascinating the last several years to see people coming in talking about how they read something that resonated about, oh, that's the role I played in my family growing up. And now I see that in my adult life. And then, okay, I'm ready. Now that I have that information, I feel like I'm ready to work on it. And I think that's it, is all of us getting to a place of like readiness, of wanting to meet ourselves and wanting to clear out the closets and whatever's back there, because that baggage weighs us down. So when people talk about brain fog and maybe try to look for an easy answer, like, oh, is it, who knows, hormones? Is it this? Is it that? Is it sometimes it's just things we haven't dealt with. So I just really encourage people, learn about yourself, find meaning, find what brings you purpose, and then heal what you need to heal. And then it doesn't have to take forever. There are so many modalities, and some are really fun, like clearly breathwork. Breathwork is a great time.
It is a great
Yes.
time. Who
Yeah.
doesn't want to like meet their higher self
I
within
know.
30 minutes?
It's amazing that, and I think, yeah, we were talking before about like the new moon classes that now I do at Erica's studio. And it's wild. People will talk about, deceased loved ones who come in, or they saw this vision of someone and or just felt relaxed, which is
Yeah.
great. There are big and small experiences, right? Breathwork ebbs and flows, and all of it is helpful and healing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's what
yeah,
I was talking about with Erica during our recording. Was I went to breathwork initially because the idea that I was going to be able to meditate finally and turn my brain off, that is why I was like, I need this. As a postpartum mom, I'm like, ooh, 2 hours to myself to just shut down. And
right.
obviously, it has gone way beyond
Yeah.
that at this point for me of like, I'm learning how to be a medium now. Like, I actually did channel
Oh my gosh.
someone's past loved one a couple weeks ago. So, like, it's gone. Yeah, I've been Erica's level 2
Yeah.
inner
Yeah.
knowing. And Julia, actually, from Flourish, was our sitter, our
Yeah.
guest or whatever. And we all had channeled her dad, and it was so beautiful. It was such an amazing experience to be able to do that. That we all have the ability to, not just be in the psychic realm that we're in, but to be able to access that other realm where our ancestors live, where our loved ones live, where our guides live, and to be able to talk to them and give messages, and what a blessing it is to be able to do that and to provide people with messages from their loved ones. Like it was such a powerful, incredible experience. But yeah, it's like it's amazing, all these different things, like you said, it could be something so little of why you're doing it, and then next thing you know, you're like a breathwork facilitator starting their businesses where they're teaching it to other people.
Fire year, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I love that so much because we have this access. Now that I am, deep down the spiritual rabbit hole, the longer I'm here and the better I feel and the more authentic I feel and the more connected, we have all of this gold all the time, right? Whenever I meditate or tap in or I ask for insight about something, and then
Yeah.
usually I get
Yeah.
symbols, I get little thoughts in my mind, or I get songs that pop up. The
Mm,
fact that as I'm cultivating this as a muscle and I'm getting more and more, great, right? This is something we all have access to. And it is like gold that has been hidden from us, which again, isn't that hard to tap into, and we just have to
it's not.
choose to build that muscle? It's not. Yeah, that's sort of what I feel like I wish I could tell a younger version of me or tell anybody now is like, just do the work, just tap in, start building the muscle because it's worth it. And then you can get interesting intel and insight, right? And find cool people who are also interested to learn about themselves, connect, get to these higher levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your business, we know your therapy practice, but your new business that you started this year intentionally. So that is how you run your new moon. So every new moon, every month, you have a breathwork session that's close to when the new moon is, which is beautiful. I've done like all of them except I missed your last one, which was very depressing. Because it
We
sounded
missed
like it
you.
was, I know, it sounded like it was incredible, as it always is. And you do Reiki through. So what does that look like, and how is that different from your traditional where you have clients, patients that come and see you and sit down for your therapy versus what you're providing in this other business?
Yeah, very good question. So, yeah, as a therapist, I work in a group practice called the Gallia Collaborative. It's in Walnut Hills. And so that's, a lot of the distinction really is just how the systems are set up, is that that's just kind of traditional model therapy. I do more somatic work and trauma work so that we really can release and not just sort of talk in circles about things. I'm a big believer in being able to help people process when they're ready. So that's sort of one arm of what I do. And then on the other side is just where I get to be more spiritual. So this is where I offer breathwork classes. As you mentioned, I have the class at Erica's studio for the new moon. And because we get to pull in a little bit of astrology and it's kind of galactical, celestial themed. So that's usually how the meditation runs. And then also, yeah, I just got attuned earlier this year to be able to offer Reiki. So that is something I'm leaning into and hope to do more of. Right now, I do a lot just with myself or friends. My sweet little orange stripy cats get lots of Reiki. They're very chill.
So awesome. Animals have souls too. They
It's
need,
so great. I
they
Reiki
go
my
through
plants.
things. I Reiki my
They
plants.
do. They do.
I've
I
been
have this.
talking to
Yeah,
my
I do.
plants, and like they're thriving. I'll just like walk up and be like, "You looking
Is
good,
it helping?
girl?"
Yeah.
It is. They love it. They're like, "Okay, I'm not gonna die.
They
Just
say
kidding."
there's research on that.
100%. It's
Yes,
like anything. Like
totally.
kindness wins. Hello.
I love it. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the plants, the animals. I had a psychic tell me that my little cat Samantha and I have lived past lives together,
Oh yeah.
that she was my horse in a past life, which I could see. Yeah, she's like that.
Yeah, that's how
So,
I
so who
feel
knows? I don't
about
know.
I believe that. I've heard that from other people. And my German Shepherd Duchess, I similarly feel like we have been in other lives together. I don't know to what capacity. I've never like really explored this, but when I met her,
Yeah,
she was 4 weeks old. And when they're that little, like they can barely see. Okay. They're like pretty much blind. So she's got like very bad vision. She was one of 8 of her siblings. We went to go like pick out which one we wanted. And all of her like they were all sort of sleeping, and I like got there and I'm standing at the cage and I'm like looking in, and she like wakes up and she immediately like stands up on the gate and just looks into my soul. And I'm like, and none of the other puppies did that. There and some of them like were waking up and were like kind of moving around. She was the only one. She saw me and she stood up and she just stared at me. And again, like 4 weeks old, barely can see, and I'm like, that's my baby. That's my baby. And so then,
so cool.
she truly is like I feel like she is a part of my soul. But it is amazing. Yeah, animals are just they're such a gift, and we're so lucky that we get to have animals and love them as much
I
as we do.
love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Just that soul recognition, you know?
Oh yeah. It's
We
like
feel
people
like
too though, we're like, oh yeah, we've known each other forever, like
sure. Sure.
and that's
Yes.
what's also so fun about this spiritual work is like also
Yeah.
digging into that, like where have we been before? And past life experiences and regressions and all that kind of stuff is just it's so fascinating how holistic and wide this area goes, which is why I think so many of us like you just we're first of all we're interested in everything, and then we're
Yes.
just like trying to like incorporate like like I'm like, do I do human design, do I incorporate that, and I'm like, okay, well I don't want to go too crazy, but I'm also like, but it is important and it's great to have all these different things because in the moment this person may really need that and it'd be really good for me to have this thing. And so I feel we're in a you're talking about Jen earlier, our like
Yeah.
center of the spider web. We're in this holistic practitioners group, and like all of us are truly holistic practitioners. Like we may identify as, a word or something, but then it's like, but also like we do all these other things, which is awesome.
It is so true. I love that. It all seems so like meant to happen, right? The futures were meant to find, and even that soul recognition piece you're talking about. And I think that something I feel like is so important too, that we might recognize people and that our souls are here to learn lessons from each other. And it's not always be together forever, you know?
Yeah.
Depending on who
Yeah.
that is, if it's friends, if it's
Yeah.
partners, if it's parents, it's just the bigger meaning. And that's what I think is so exciting to really delve into, like that deeper meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am very excited to see you about this dream work stuff because what's going on
Yeah.
in here is crazy, girl. And I need to get it sorted out, and I don't want to do my own research because you're building it. So I'll Just let me
I
know
will
and
keep
I'll
you
come
posted.
keep me posted. Well, with all these interviews, I love ending with this little question. So I'm going to give you the prompt. And if you can complete the sentence is, I know I'm finding my way when.
I know I'm finding my way when I just feel so excited and so enthusiastic and optimistic, and honestly just feel a deep sense of love and gratitude. And that's really where
Mm,
I've been existing. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you
Thank
certainly
you for this.
provide that. Yeah, and you provide that, with all the work that you do, and I just love how diverse your practice is, and I just feel so lucky that we are friends and we've had like at least 2 dinners now and we see each other. I feel like we see each other at least we would definitely see each other at least once a month because I come to your breathwork stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been just so awesome to get to know you and to be so connected to you. And I'm grateful that you came on here and I'm grateful for all the work you do and what a light you are. And I hope that so many people are inspired by what you said and come see you for whatever it is, whether it is a more serious therapy session or for some Reiki or just for a little new moon sesh for, that once a month where we just gather and get woo woo and just chill for 2 hours. It's a gift.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on and for all of the things you do. Look at what a huge like beacon of light you are for wayfinding women and the Divine Feminine Collective. So,
Well, to me, like, I work best in collaboration with others, and I wouldn't be where I am today without each and every one of you. And so for me, I've got this platform and it's just a way to give back. And I'm very big on giving. I'm not really great at receiving. So I'm just going to keep giving
oh,
as one does. But yeah, no, for me, and it's also just like I'm lucky that I was able to find each of you that are my wayfinders and how much you've helped me. And like even in my current small circle of followers and people that care to tune in, like eventually I hope and know that this is going to be bigger, but like even if I can just give people like, oh hey, there is this thing called breath work. Like so many people have no idea what I'm talking about. Just to give people access to these resources that are available that can hopefully help change their life in a way that has been the case for me. And if nothing else, that is my biggest is like, hey, this is here for you. You want to listen to this hour recording? Like, I hope it helps you and, help you find your way, which is where I'm at right now.
yeah, I love it. And the just to be intentional about it feels so important. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And thank you for all you're doing.
You're so welcome, friend. And I know that you've got a really cool course coming up and we're going to get together with your
Yeah,
co-teacher, co-instructor friend to talk about that later, but I'm going to include all of the things about how everyone can reach you in the show notes.
cool.
I'll also be sending out to all of my email subscribers an email that kind of gives your background and stuff so that people, and then a link to the episode once it goes live so that everybody can check it out. But yeah, I just appreciate your time, girly, and I need to sign up for your next new moon class right now. So as soon as I get off here,
Cool, cool.
I'm gonna do that. Okay, friend. Thank you
Good.
so much. I love
Appreciate you. Thank
you.
you. Love you.
See you
Thank you so
later.
much.
Bye.
Bye.